Alright guys, what is it they say about insanity? Insanity is doing the same thing more than once and expecting a different result each time you do it. This is the situation that Sony currently finds itself in, where it cannot give up this live service model, this market that it thinks exists, where it just wants to create these live service games with years of support, as they say. And unfortunately, it just keeps biting them in the ass. So what I'm talking about is this article here from Games Radar Plus that says, undeterred by Concord, Sony expands its live service army, PlayStation Studios adds new dev making a team-based action game targeting years of support. And no guys, we're not talking about Concord. This is a completely different live service game. But of course, it gets better, because now we're finding out from WCCF Tech that Haven Studios founder Jade Raymond leaves the PlayStation first-party studio Fairgame, reportedly delayed into 2026. Now, what is Fairgame, you may ask? Well, okay. Fairgame was announced, I believe, last year. We started seeing some trailers for it, some little teasers for it. It looks like pure cringe. It's just terrible. The game looks awful. It looks like another Concord waiting to happen. Again, it seems like it's trying to appeal to this modern audience that doesn't quite exist, but for some weird reason, the AAA video game industry is just chasing this audience. They cannot help themselves, right? It's like a dog chasing a bone. But it gets better, because they're even saying now that this game is already going to be the next Concord-sized bomb for 2026. And the funniest thing about this article from comicbook.com is it references that unfortunately we may be looking at another Concord situation. Bloomberg has reported that Jade Raymond has left Haven, a puzzling move since Haven is yet to ship a game. Why set up a studio just to leave it a few years later? No one really knows why Raymond left. Of course, this could be personal. That should be respected. However, Raymond has had a rocky track record when it comes to seeing games through. Some of this is out of her control, such as when she went to work on Google Stadia and that ended up being dissolved by Google. With that said, Bloomberg has reported that Fairgames isn't being received well. Raymond's departure comes shortly after external testing for the new PS5 game. Those tests reportedly led to concerns about the state of the game and how it's progressing from the staff at Haven. The PlayStation game was apparently planning to release this fall, but it has shifted to spring 2026, which puts it close to the release of GTA 6. While it's totally possible Fairgames manages to stick the landing, the signs are concerning and could lead to another extremely expensive bomb for PlayStation, not dissimilar from Concord. So again, everything goes back to Concord. Well, we're not done talking about Concord. From PC Gamer, back in April, former Concord dev says it was gut-wrenching to see our project fail, but urges players not to judge Marathon too soon. To call this game a failure before it's even out is wild to me. Now, what is Marathon? Marathon is this game, this first-person extraction shooter from Bungie that is being marketed as this fantastic live service experience with, fast-paced gun battles similar to games like Apex Legends, and ultimately the alpha failed miserably. The number of players in the closed alpha paled in comparison to other games like Arc Raiders, which I believe hit a peak of 26,000 players. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure that was the number, during its closed alpha, which ran just a few weeks afterwards. Nobody is excited about Marathon. The general feeling is it's a game that nobody knows who the target audience is. It's a game for no one, essentially. Well, it gets better today, because now we are seeing allegations that Marathon has been plagiarizing and stealing art from somebody who's not even working on the team, somebody who's just followed by apparently the art director of the game at Bungie. I am not even kidding you. So you see this article from the Game Post says Marathon Alpha draws new plagiarism accusations against Bungie as artist says game is plastered with stolen art. So here's the original Twitter post from this anti-real person N2 on Twitter. Says the Marathon Alpha released recently and its environments are covered with assets lifted from poster designs I made in 2017. And of course she tagged Bungie and Joseph A. Cross. Who is Joseph A. Cross? Well, he is in fact the franchise art director for Marathon at Bungie. Ironically, I have not seen an official statement from him. I do not believe he has actually replied to this yet. Shocking. But what's even funnier is the fact that this person follows this anti-real account on Twitter. This person, the art director of the game, follows this person who had the art stolen. Very suspicious. You can see some examples that they put a little box here around stuff that was from their original art that was found in the game in the alpha for Marathon. So it's undeniable. It is undeniable that art was lifted from this person's own art portfolio and used in the game without any consent. Anti-Real says, Bungie is of course not obligated to hire me when making a game that draws overwhelmingly from the same design language I've refined for the last decade, but clearly my work was good enough to pillage for ideas and plaster all over their game without pay or attribution. I don't have the resources nor the energy to spare to pursue this legally, but I have lost count of the number of times a major company has deemed it easier to pay a designer to imitate or steal my work than to write me an email. In 10 years, I have never made a consistent income from this work, and I'm tired of designers from huge companies moodboarding and parasiting my designs while I struggle to make a living. This person, Reaction Andy, responded and said, I see that Joseph Cross also follows you. Is there any insight you can give about the connection there? And Anti-Real responds and says, he's followed me for a few years and a few others from Bungie. Never had any communication at all. So again, Joseph Cross follows this person, and it found it, I guess, acceptable for his art team to steal the designs for, Marathon from this person. This person here, Billion, I don't know how to pronounce that, says, Dear Marathon, the game, graphic design lovers, it's time for me to burn some bridges, because thanks to Anti-Real Daily posters stolen and put as textures in the game and many other assets utilized, you have created Anti-Real the game. Joseph Cross seems as bold and blatant as art theft, as if no one is going to say anything about this. This one is another Fern's Anti-Real poster, making a big portion of the actual ASCII in the game menus and briefings. And again, you can of course see the original and what you see in the game. It's practically identical. How do we know that this is a poster stolen from Anti-Real? Well, you just take a look. We got some screenshots sent by people who had an alpha game, and if you really need proof, Bungie should educate Joseph Cross when you're stealing someone's posters, make sure you erase their name from the texture. And you can see, of course, on the left here, where they didn't do a good job of deleting Anti-Real Daily Series, they just kind of left it all scratchy looking right there. Didn't even try to hide it. What do I have to say? The above posters are from Fern Anti-Real, but since I was a member of Anti-Real 2, there was collab posters, even shorts, and of course links to some YouTube videos there. He says, I will close with this. This existed for years. No one in the game industry or films hired anyone. Anti-Real became a Pinterest for these corporate games to claim our hard work as their own, to earn quick money and settle small collaterals. Disgusting. I remember two things. Joseph and a few other members of Marathon were following Anti-Real on Twitter, and that the Marathon is going to release an art book. Can we at least call the art book Anti-Real Art? I mean, they probably should give credit where credit is due. This makes Ubisoft seem benevolent with their stealing, assets for Assassin's Creed Shadows. This is blatant art theft right here. Anti-Real then responded and said, completely overwhelmed by this response. Thank you so much for the support, and especially to those who have donated. It helps enormously. And again, I think this person should be supported, because why not support the person whose art has been stolen and used in this Bungie slop game? Of course, you also see this fake quote from DualShockers, another journalistic outlet, where they quoted this person saying, I'm completely floored, she wrote. This is my full-time job. I sell these posters online. They're not obscure. A major company has deemed it easier to pay a designer to imitate or trace rather than license or commission the work. And Anti-Real responds and says, insane fake quote, LOL, I am currently unemployed. So again, I mean, even the media covering this can't be trusted with their actual quotes. Legacy Killer says, never seen a company so consistently get caught ripping people's artwork. Bungie is on an historic run of theft. And what he's referring to, you can see this article from The Verge saying Bungie will compensate an artist after its Destiny 2 Nerf blaster ripped off their work. And another one from Game Rant, where Destiny 2 had to respond to accusations of art theft back in 2023. This is not a new thing with Bungie. Pirate Software says this thread is insanely damning and shows that Bungie lifted designs themselves, or the company Kerpahosk did, and sold them to Bungie. A number of these are, I find that, first off, a little bit unlikely given the fact that the art director for the game is following this person. But okay, well, we'll continue with that train of thought. A number of these are direct copies, so while AI sourcing is possible, it seems unlikely for all cases here. This creator's work spans back nearly a decade and shows thousands of pieces of art. They can be found here, antireal.info, and if you've played Marathon as I have, you will identify a number of them instantly. Then he goes on to say, it just gets dumber the more I look, with this screenshot that says, I hid loss in my designs 6 years ago and nobody caught on. What he's referring to is this meme right here, and Grum says this is the loss meme. It is often depicted as just lines, as you see in the Marathon texture above. Basically, again, a pattern of lines from a meme. Marathon Bulletin says, here's a clearer comparison between the textures extracted from Marathon's game files, top and left, and the original artwork by Anti-Real. Basically, there is no denying it, that they straight up just ripped off this person's art. Bandar Hub says, I thought the unique style was the only good thing about Marathon. Little did I know that it was all stolen. What a disgrace. Mudahar says, yeah, Marathon is effing cooked. Bungie WTF. Marathon Bolton also responds and says, looks like Kerpahosk is the agency behind Marathon's branding, visual development, identities, typography, ARG, etc. This was confirmed by Marathon's franchise art director, Joseph Cross. Again, the person who follows Anti-Real on Twitter. I know, just coincidental, right? D2 Posting, a Destiny fan account, says if I had a nickel for every time Bungie somehow used other people's art in their games, I'd have like 3 nickels, which isn't a lot, but how the F did it happen 3 times? The first 2, they're like, oh, it's fan art that we thought was official. What's the excuse for this one then? Big Fry TV says, let me guess, Bungie used a third-party contractor that stole the art, right? Marathon Bolton also says, in case you missed it, the Marathon Play MA livestream is happening tomorrow, May 16th at 1 p.m. Pacific time. Game director Joe Ziegler will be joining to discuss closed alpha feedback and what's next. It'll be very interesting to see what he has to say, because he's already been on the hot seat for a lot of decisions, such as this decision that they announced a couple of months ago, or like last month, that they were not going to have proximity chat in their extraction shooter because it would be way too toxic, apparently. I quote tweeted this earlier and said, okay, so Joe Ziegler famously removed proximity chat from Marathon because it's too toxic. I can only imagine how he handles the chat after Bungie got outed for stealing art from a struggling artist. Marathon Bolton then posted that Bungie has issued an official statement addressing the plagiarism claims for Marathon, confirming that a former artist included unauthorized artwork. So they've admitted to it now, basically. Says, we immediately investigated a concern regarding unauthorized use of artist decals in Marathon and confirmed that a former Bungie artist included these in a texture sheet that was ultimately used in-game. We have reached out to Anti-Real to discuss this issue and are committed to doing right by the artist. Sure you are, guys. Sure you are. But of course, somebody down here, Luis Lachega, says, for your journalistic integrity, it's kind of important to add this. What about the current Marathon employees and art team that literally follow the artist on this app? Your whole art team follows the artist that has been developing this art style for 10 plus years, and you didn't think to give them any attribution. This isn't an oopsie you can blame on a former employee. Your current employees follow this small artist with a niche style, and then you just coincidentally happen to launch an entire game themed after it, not buying it. And I think that's the way a lot of people feel. Again, I am not the biggest, art stan, if you will. I'm not that person that's out there championing for the little guy when it comes to artists and all that stuff. But if a AAA company comes along and rips off a smaller artist's art designs and drawings and doesn't even give them credit or any compensation, that's like, screw you guys. Like, honestly, I already was on the fence about Marathon. I already looked at Marathon as something that looked boring and uninspired, especially when other games like Arc Raiders are going to be coming out around the same time. So it's like, why not just play a better, superior game anyways? But truly, honestly, at this point, screw Bungie, screw Marathon. I hope this game fails. I truly expect the game to fail. And I don't think very many people are looking to support this game anymore, given just the level of laziness that we're seeing coming out of Bungie and the AAA video game industry as a whole. But I'm going to leave it right there, guys. Let me know what you think about all this down in the comments down below, and I will catch you guys in the next one. Alright, and if you made it this far, thank you so much for watching the video. Thank you for being here. I do have 2 channels, Minimal Effort Podcast, as well as my gaming channel. I do have a Twitch and Kick for my gaming channel. We do live streams over there occasionally, maybe once a week. And then if you are in the market for a new PC, make sure to check out Meta PCs. Click the link I have down below. Use code TBO at checkout for a special discount. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you next time.